You brought a cat home. You fed it, you named it, you decided it was yours. That is the story everyone believes, and almost every part of it is backwards. The animal on your couch was never tamed for a job, never bred to obey, never asked to move in. It picked the door, walked through it, and let you think the choice was yours. Here is what actually happened. 10,000 years ago, at the edge of the very first farmed fields, a man stands by his grain store holding scraps out to a dog. The dog heels the instant he calls, pressed against his side. A few feet away, a wild-eyed cat ignores him completely and strolls into the granary, tail up, on business of its own. The farmer smiles. He thinks he is taming it, but no one ever set out to tame the cat. No plan, no leash, no cage, no purpose assigned. The cat simply walked in. And the reason it walked in had nothing to do with him, or, 10,000 years later, with you. That granary cat was not some early tamed breed. It was a wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica, the Near Eastern wildcat, and here is the part that should stop you cold. The animal asleep on your couch tonight is still that exact same species, not a softened descendant of something wild. The wild thing itself, unchanged, that happened to move to town, and it moved in because you built the perfect trap without ever knowing it. The trap was grain. The moment people started storing cereal, the stores filled with rats and mice, and the rodents pulled in the wildcats. No farmer ever went out and caught one. They just tolerated the cats that turned up to hunt. As one researcher bluntly put it, the cats basically hung out, and humans let them. No breeding program, no selection. It was a home invasion the victims never even noticed, and they kept not noticing, over and over, in place after place. This was not one lucky litter that happened to go tame. Ancient DNA from 225 cats spanning 10,000 years shows it happened at least twice from two separate wildcat populations. First in the Near East, then all over again in Egypt. Wildcats kept independently deciding to move in with people on opposite ends of the map. Nobody was running the breeding, but something clearly was. So who ran the breeding program? The cats did. The bolder wildcats, the ones that preferred living next to humans, bred with each other near the grain, generation after generation. Their own choice of address did all the selecting. You were never the breeder here. You were the real estate. And the oldest hard proof of this deal is not a painting. It is a grave. On Cyprus, 95 centuries back, someone dug a grave. Into it, they laid an 8-month-old wildcat, just 40 centimeters from a human body, arranged with seashells and polished stones, the same care they gave their own dead. This is the oldest hard proof of the bond we have, and it already treats the cat as family. 4,000 years before Egypt ever painted a cat, a Stone Age person knelt in the dirt and grieved for one. But look closely at that skeleton, and the bond gets stranger. That grave hides something impossible. Cats are not native to Cyprus. There were none on the island, not one, which means Neolithic people deliberately loaded a wildcat into a canoe and paddled it across open sea from the mainland. Someone looked at a clawed, unbred, fully wild animal and decided it was worth a deadly boat trip. And the cat they risked their lives for was, in every bone, still a wild animal. Look at the skeleton itself. It is big, and it lines up almost perfectly with an African wildcat, not a modern house cat. You can read the whole story right there in the bones. It lived beside humans. It was buried with love. And it had not been reshaped by them in the slightest. A pet on the outside, a wild animal all the way through. That single grave also quietly demolishes the story you were taught in school. You probably learned in school that the Egyptians were the first people to keep cats. That Cyprus grave beats Egypt's earliest cat art by more than 4,000 years. The whole famous story, Egypt invented the pet cat, turns out to be just another slightly wrong belief, quietly corrected by a single skeleton on a Mediterranean island. To see how little we changed the cat, put it beside the one animal we truly did change, the dog. The dog is the mirror image of the cat. Wolves were tamed 15 to 40 millennia in the past, long before anyone farmed anything, and then humans bred them relentlessly, for hunting, herding, guarding, for size and shape and temperament. Every floppy ear and every breed is our fingerprint. The dog is a tool we carved out of a wolf. The cat got almost none of that, and you can actually count the difference between them. When geneticists lined up the two genomes side by side, the contrast was stark. The dog's DNA is covered in the marks of human meddling. The cat's is barely touched by comparison. One was rewritten by us, the other we hardly edited at all. So on its own terms is not a poetic flourish. It is written into the genetic code itself. And that barely touched code is still running, right now, on your living room floor. Watch a well-fed house cat stalk a toy, a bug, a bird, and kill it, even with a full bowl sitting untouched. That is not a cute quirk. It is the exact hunting program of its wild ancestors, running unedited, line for line. Dogs have mostly had that drive bred out of them. Your cat never surrendered a single instinct, which is exactly why it never actually needed you to survive. The proof it never needed you is everywhere. Feral cats thrive on every inhabited continent, hunting and breeding with no humans anywhere near them. Turn most modern dog breeds loose in the wild and they simply die. The cat kept its off switch. It can walk out on us anytime it likes, and millions already have. It still mates freely with wild cats, the border between wild and tame never fully drawn. So when humans finally noticed the cat, they did not just keep it, they worshipped it. In ancient Egypt, the squatter became a god. People saw the cat as the living body of the goddess Bastet, and it earned that worship doing the very same thing it did in that first granary, killing the rodents around human food. Nothing more. Humans promoted the cat from freeloader to deity, and still it was only collecting on a job it had handed itself. From a god in Egypt, the cat went on to take the whole planet, without lifting a paw. Cats never conquered the world in cages. They hitchhiked. On trade caravans, on ships, riding human networks wherever the grain and the rats went. A Greek and Roman craze for Egyptian cats swept them clean across the Mediterranean and up into Europe. The cat simply let human commerce carry it, one port at a time, and asked for nothing in return. And that free ride built one of the most successful predators the planet has ever seen. Today, more than 600 million cats live among us, outnumbering almost every animal we ever deliberately bred, and they never once lost the wild appetite. Free-ranging cats in the United States alone kill somewhere between 1 and 4 billion birds every single year, and billions of small mammals on top of that. The IUCN now lists the ordinary house cat among the 100 worst invasive species on Earth. The pet you think you tamed is a self-appointed apex predator, which makes the very last fact about your cat almost impossible to believe. There is one last twist, buried inside all the others. This animal that never needed you, that kept every wild instinct, that can walk out the door tonight and survive forever, bonds to you as tightly as a human baby bonds to its mother. Around 65% of cats form a secure attachment to their owner. That matches human infants. It edges out dogs. It was never yours. You did not tame it. You did not breed it. You did not earn it. 10,000 years ago, it walked into a human food store, kept its whole wild self intact, and eventually it looked at the entire human species, every leash and cage we ever built, and decided, on its own terms, that you were worth staying for. That is not a pet you own. That is the one wild thing on Earth that looked back and chose you.